Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we all doing today? I'm back. I'm over COVID. I'm all back to normal, thankfully. So hopefully we're going to have a much better show than last week. Thank you so much to everyone for your best wishes and everything else. How are we all doing? How are we all doing? Coming up a bit later on, I want to talk about what is it? Where do you get your plants from? Do you grow all your plants from seed? Do you get them from a garden centre? Do you get them in cuttings, etc., etc.? Those are the sort of things I want to find out from you guys. Before that, we'll go for what I've been up to over this last week and for you to tell me what you've been up to. But first, we have, let's, as I've made this, might as well use this. The roll call. Indeed, the roll call. So have we got anybody out there? Yes, straight away. We've got Adrian. Good evening to you. Hope you are well. Who else have we got? Turbo Streamers out there. Good evening to the Veg Army. Good evening to you. Philly SPB is out there. Good evening to you. Hope you are well. Oracle is out there. Good evening to you. Rebecca Hawkins is out there. Good evening to you. Hope you are well. Graham Arnold is also out there. Good evening to you. Hargrave Gas is out there. Evening all. Hope you've had a good week. Too hot for me and my plants. It's certainly been a warm one, hasn't it? Nicola Cornish Heaven is out there. Evening, Richard, Adrian, and all on a soggy day in Cornwall. It's a beautiful day here in Sussex. A lot of sunshine. Anna Jones is out there. Hello, gardeners. Good evening to you. Beatrice is out there. Good evening to you. Good evening, everyone. My dad is out there. Good evening to you. Richard Golden out there. Hello, all. COVID-free here. Good. I'm glad Richard's got over the COVID as well. So should all be nice and safe. Hit the thumbs up, all. Yes, please hit the thumbs up, like, etc., etc. It goes a long way to help with the algorithms, etc., etc. Idaho Gone Girl is out there. Good evening to you. Not just Green Fingers UK blog, aka Lisa. Good evening, everyone. Glad it's not as warm as Monday and Tuesday. Love Lisa, indeed. Digwell Green Fingers. Hey, hi all. What a lovely day to be saying. What a lovely day. Ken Dodd style. I'm showing my naivety, my youngster here. I can't think what Ken Dodd style is with what a lovely day. So perhaps somebody would be so kind enough as to zap in and do a Ken Dodd style what a lovely day. If I put that in the link right now, should you want to do that. Or alternatively, I'll bring the banner up as well. Which one is it? That one. If you want to call in, the phone line is open. 07307 135 174. So, what have I been up to over this last week? So, the big thing, I guess, we need to get out of the way. Monday and Tuesday, very, very hot weather, but I was still off with COVID. I did feel better by that point, but I didn't think it was right to go down to the allotment and risk everyone passing it on to. We got a lot of elderly people down on our allotment. I didn't think it was right to try and risk them. So I just basically kept myself cool at home and did the best. And I think really we did all right out of it. So no real losses that I know of. When did I first went down the allotment yesterday morning, quite early in the morning, to try and beat the sun. It's the way I found works best, is to try and get down the allotment early in the morning before the sunshine really gets hot, and I can get a lot more done. Okay, there's certain things I can't do, like firing up the lawnmower, because that might upset some of the neighbours, but there's still a lot I can get done. And what did I do? I'm going to just have a look at my notes. I harvested my shallots. We've got a good lot of shallots this year. They're drying in the greenhouse at the moment, but they're soon going to come out. We're going to get those pickled in vinegar. And I really, really do like shallots. Good year. Had better years in the past, but covering with a mulch has really helped with the shallots, just like they've helped with the onions and the garlic. We sown some more carrots, trying to get lots of carrots sown this year. Just basically, as the shallot bed is empty, I figured let's throw some carrots in there. What else have we done? I also sowed some peas. Just trying to use up. I've got a large collection of pea seeds at the moment, trying to use those up. Today was a day at home, did a few bits in the garden. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned that I didn't know what chop and drop was. Well, I looked into it while I was sick, and basically what I discovered, chop and drop is basically you take all your weed cuttings and everything like that, chop them up and then throw them on the bed so that they rot down in place. And I realized that's what I've been doing, but now I'm actually got a name for it, and I've basically been mulching my beds with all the cuttings and prunings and everything like that, just doing chop and drop, as they call it in the permaculture world. Apart from that, there's not much been going on at home. It's in this sort of weird, sort of not much to do in the home plot. But over to you guys. What have you been up to? Chili Kate's out there. Hi there. Glad to hear you're feeling better, Richard. Stepped by for the first 30 minutes. Child-free this week, so going out for dinner. Well, I hope you have a lovely dinner. Make the most of it. Lovely to see you anyway. And Turbo Stream, my plot seems to have survived the heat. We hit 37 degrees C here. Have been mainly watering and more weeding. Pulled a few beetroot too. Gotta admit, it didn't get as hot as it was predicted here. We were very, very lucky. It was still too hot to do anything. I couldn't do much anyway. I was asleep for most of it with this COVID. But it didn't get as hot as I was expecting it to. We didn't get the 40 degrees. We didn't get above. I think the most we got was about 32 degrees C. So we were lucky in that front on a whole. I don't know if anybody else had any losses or any problems with the heat that has been caused due to the heat. Let us know in the comments. Turbo Stream, I was hedge cutting this afternoon at home, all 70 foot of it. Yeah, 70 foot of hedge. We got rid. So I'm bringing this back to me again. I don't like doing this, but I think it's important. We've been slowly getting rid of our hedge, our privet bush that we have out the front of our house, because it was privet. It didn't really do anything. It was a lot of work to try and maintain it. And what I'm putting in place instead in pots, and I've been collecting them like mad. I'm getting red currant and white currant and gooseberry bushes into pots to go in place of these hedge cutting, and they're going to make an edible hedge is my idea. But I'm looking forward to it being a real tasty, but something I'm going to really have to work but get something from it as well. So yeah, that's my thoughts on hedge cutting at the moment. This is from Idaho Garden Girl. I've been pulling piles and piles of weeds. Some of my pepper plants died, so I replaced them with some extras I had. That's a good thing about always having extras, isn't it? And I'm guilty of always sowing too many, but when they die back, it's always nice to feel that having those extra pepper plants, the chili plants, or whatever it may be, to go in place makes all the difference. I'm guessing in Idaho you've had much hotter weather than what we've had here in the UK. So a lot of people have been probably thinking that we're wimps here in the UK. I'd just like to point out we don't really have aircon in the UK. Digwell says, I'm a chopper and dropper, but I didn't know it had a name either. It just seemed like the obvious thing to do for me. Leave the roots in the ground, etc., etc. Yeah, I just mulched. That's all I was doing. And I was just chopping everything up with a lawnmower anyway, all my weeds and stuff up. I used to throw it in the compost heap, and I still do that, to be honest. But now since I discovered mulching, I've just been doing it as a mulch. And we were talking about chop and drop from the permaculture world, and I just discovered that is actually what chop and drop is. It's just mulching. So yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It actually has a name. And it is obvious because as it rots down, it puts that goodness that might come out into the soil where your plants are, where it's going to be needed. So I'm a big believer in this now. Beatrice says, only lost a few dwarf green beans from plants in the ground, but I have of my seedlings, so I will be having a mega sowing session this week. Yeah. Mega sowing sessions are always good, and there's always time to sow more seeds. I know, again, I've had a question come in for the podcast this week about what can I sow now for winter veg, and realistically, we're looking at the chance for our winter veg has gone, but we're going to be looking forward to moving it forward. Turbo Stream says this summer has been very dry. All the lawns are brown, but we have had rain, but it's not really done anything for the allotment. We had a bit of rain the other night, but you're right, our lawns have gone brown in the last couple of weeks. They were quite green up until then, but they've gone brown now, which a lot of our areas, I don't know if anybody else has had this, there are a lot of areas around here, the council haven't been cutting the grass as much, and now it's gone brown. You can actually start to see the wildflowers come out much better than when I've ever seen them before. Nicholas says, pulled the last of the broad beans and been potting remainder of the large tomato plants into Asda flower buckets. They were in rose pots. Yeah, those big black pots that they tend to sell. I know Morrison's sell them off. They're great, aren't they? They're great for growing plants in. They're just a nice size and a bit weak, but they are good. Beatrice, only lost a few dwarf green beans, but most of my seedlings waiting to go out have really suffered. I've read this one. Sorry, my mistake. Our highest was 103 degrees F or 39.4 degrees Celsius in Idaho. That's hot. That's hot, isn't it? Like I said, we didn't get as hot as what was predicted. I think 32 was our highest, but it was still very, very warm. Still very warm. And parts of the UK reaching hotter temperatures than that. It's scary, but it also, I don't know if anybody watched the Netflix show called, I think it was called The Dirt or Digging the Dirt or something like that. It was all about no-dig gardening, basically. But all that was going through my head through this heat wave was the fact that by growing more plants and having plants growing in the ground, we can actually keep ourselves much cooler. That's what I kept thinking of, that show. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. Toby's we had some bark chippings at the allotment, so took advantage and mulched some of the fruit areas around the gooseberries. Lucky you. This is another annoyance I have with our council. A couple of years ago, they actually delivered off some of their bark shreddings, but they haven't done it since. And I think it's a waste because the council have to get rid of the trimmings. Why not use them on an allotment? They will get put to use. I certainly use them, and I would be putting them around a lot of my soft fruit bushes. Turbo Extreme says Wilkers were selling off seeds, so bought a few packets, lettuce and viola and onion, etc. They always sell them off. It's a bit early, but they're selling them off early this year. Now, Graham has got a trouble with flea beetle on my Brussels sprout plants, and they are under environment. Any ideas on how to get rid of them? So, I can only think of one time that I've suffered with flea beetle, and all I did then was just constantly, as much as I could, run my hands around my plants that were suffering from flea beetle so as to disturb the flea beetle, and they just basically got fed up with me constantly moving them around, and they gave up and moved off. That's one idea you could do, just constantly try and get your hands moving so that they're constantly disturbing them. An idea, I'm not so keen on this idea, but it's possibly the only thing I can think of for flea beetle, is to get some of those sticky bug traps, the things that a bug will fly onto and get stuck to. Hang those up. I go for the thinner ones. The thicker ones that birds can get trapped on, I'm not a fan of at all, but the thinner ones. And put that amongst your infected plants, and hopefully that will catch some of these flea beetles and then dispose of them. That's only if it's a real problem. But I'll ask anybody else out there if anybody else has any ideas on how to deal with flea beetle, because that's the two options that I can think of. Kiss the Ground, that's it, the Netflix show, narrated by Woody Harrelson. Absolutely fantastic. It was a good show. It was a really good show, I've got to say. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but do go and check it out. Yeah, very, 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 very eye-opening show, and just goes to show that as gardeners or farmers, what effect we have with the environment. A lot of people don't believe in it. Go check that out. It'll change your mind. Honestly, it would. It would. Right. So let's move on with the main question that I'm asking today is where do you get your plants from? And this is a question that I've been pondering for quite a while because in the UK, particularly, I don't know about anywhere else in the world if anybody else is as bad as we are in the UK, but the UK, we don't like to spend money on our gardens. We like to have gardens, we like them looking nice, but we like to do them as cheap as we possibly can. And with that in mind, I've always grown pretty much all my vegetable plants from seed. And most of my seeds, I've got a packet right here to show you. You can tell where they come from. Let me get it into the light a bit better. Let's use the overhead camera, actually. They all come, that one came from Kitchen Garden. A lot of my seeds do come free from magazines because I would buy the magazine to read and then get free magazines as well and basically get free food. I still do that. I do sometimes get sent certain seeds and pick up seeds at events as well. But I also now do go into garden centres or online and buy seeds from suppliers for the ones that I don't find so much in the magazines. This could be some, for example, a tomato Crimson Crush. Buy that from seed from a garden centre every year. One tomato plant I've got to grow. And obviously I buy seeds in bulk as well for the supporters club. So I also get seeds coming in from that. So most of my plants there come from seeds. What about you? Where do you get a lot of your plants from? Digwell says prevention is one of the best ways to stop flea weevil. They overwinter in debris, mess, etc. in the garden. Good housekeeping is probably a key thing with many bugs, particularly flea beetle, slugs and snails as well. Trying to remove those yellow leaves as soon as they appear, get rid of them on cabbage plants. Prevention is better than cure, definitely. As I say, I don't know much about the flea beetle. I very rarely have that problem. I can only think of one time I did, and it wasn't really a problem. Idaho Garden Girl. Many people strip out all the grass and replace it with bulk bark mulch. I did it. However, I found out the grass keeps everything a lot cooler. Cooler means I can use less water. Exactly right there. Exactly right. And I never actually quite thought of that, how a bark mulch and grass makes all the difference. But you're right, it does make a difference. And this was something that was mentioned in, again, Kiss the Ground. And the difference it makes, it's amazing. Beatrice says, stop getting magazines as they only ever have the same seeds over and over. You know what? You are right. Absolutely right on that. As part of the reason that I stopped. I still get the magazines. I very rarely read them, but the magazines, I've got so many of the Parsnip White Gem that they seem to send out on a monthly basis. And this was my annoyance with those magazines as well. They would send their seeds out and then you would have to keep hold of them for a year before you could actually do anything with them. I wanted seeds that I could sow that very month, hence why I designed that into the Supporters Club. And I didn't want seeds that are repeated over and over and over. Not so easy sometimes. There are times when herb seeds, for example, where we can sow herbs right throughout the year. There are, of course, times that they are going to be repeated. But again, different varieties are out there that we can experiment with. Idaho says, I used to see free seeds with gardening magazines, but haven't seen free seeds for several years. The ones in the UK do still offer free seeds, although there is a lot of rumblings that there's not so many seeds coming out. People getting disappointed with free seeds and magazines these days, especially if you're a subscription. A lot of people I've seen complaining about that. So, yeah. All my veg is grown from seed. I ordered via the allotment last year. I didn't think of allotment seeds. So that's a good point. Last year, but have so many seeds from the Supporters Club, I won't need to buy any more this year. Well, That's part of the reason that I've designed it. That £5 that you spend each month with my supporters club, the seeds I feel are worth more than a fiver and would produce more than a fiver's worth of food. That's how I built it up. Now, this is an advertisement, not meant to be an advertisement for it, but it come up, so I'll mention it. But yeah, getting seeds from an allotment club, that's a good point. We have here in Littlehampton on a Sunday morning, our allotment shed does open. I believe you're meant to be a member of the allotment committee, though, to use it. Always a bit confusing to me. Beatrice says, that is so true. I don't always follow the seed packet instructions, but I like your seed club as you get what you can sow now. That was always my annoyance with the magazines, is that I would have several of the same packets of seeds building up and up and up, and I may not got round to sowing them, so they ended up just building up and up. So and again, that's why I built it into the supporters club, that there were seeds to be sown that very month. You might even have a bit more time, but they are designed to be sown that month, so they are not hanging around, they are growing there. I mostly grow from seeds mostly from magazines and shows too, but I also buy it online. A lot of plants is from Chili Kate. A lot of plants also come from a Facebook plant swap group for my village or swapping with friends. Facebook plant swap group. I didn't think of that, but I did remember we do have a seed swap event down in Brighton. CD Sunday it's called. I mention it quite often, and I sow seeds from there. We also get seeds from there, and that another place to bring up. I agree with Beatrice, says Digwell, but they do have some really good offers inside. True. I just bought the Christmas spud kit, 3 different types of seed potato plus 1 kilo of organic feed for £6. Is that £6 plus postage and packaging, or is that £6 including the postage and packaging? However, for that postage, even if it's with postage and packaging on top, a tenner for 3 different types of seed and 1 kilo of organic feed is pretty good. That's a very good deal. They do some really good deals inside those magazines. I've got blueberry plants from there before and things like that, because they are doing some good deals. Chili Kate says, but if I'm in a garden centre or at a show and I see something unusual, of course I treat myself. Well, that brings me up to something else on my list. When I'm at a show, so recently, the last show I went to was Gardener's World Live. And while I was there, I wanted to get myself a Szechuan pepper plant, which is a type of pepper that we would use for seasoning and that we can grow here in the UK. And I've tried growing it from seed, and it failed. But I've been on my sort of looking out for somewhere we could buy a plant, and the show seemed like the only place I could get it from. So I got myself a Szechuan pepper plant, and what else did I get myself? I got myself a hairless kiwi berry plant as well. Potted those up, and they're grown quite nicely, actually. I don't think we're going to get any crops out of them this year, but they come from a show, and they weren't cheap. I think I paid, sorry about that, £6 each. I should put that on silent, shouldn't I? £6 each for the plants. So I wouldn't class them as being cheap plants. They were a bit on the pricey side, but they were very well looked after. I got the help and advice from the people who actually grow them. You pay more for that sort of information, and you know that they are going to last from that show. So yeah. Beatrice says that does sound good to Digwell. It does. And of course, a VegGrow podcast subscription from Chili Kate, of course. Digwell says £6 in total, including that is very good, actually. Very good then. Turbo Stream says, I took cuttings from old red currant bush before I had to dig it up. Also took gooseberry cuttings and black currants, which seem to have taken okay too. Another thing on my list, taking cuttings from friends, family, and neighbours. Has anybody done that to expand their plants? But we'll get into that a little bit later on. Idaho Garden, I read about different varieties of vegetables in magazines and online to try and to search out. Most of the big box stores carry ordinary varieties, so I order online. Then I like to save my own seeds. Does anybody else out there actually save their own seeds as well? It's something I've dabbled with. I dabble is what I would class it. Yeah. So yeah, different varieties, etc., etc. Excellent. Beatrice, if you have Readly, you can see all the offers inside the mag. I think Readly is an app. I used to have it, but I don't know if I still do it anymore. CD Sunday in Brighton. Is it on the nudist beach? No, it's in the. It used to be in the school. It's now, or this year, it was in an open air market. But it's a very old seed swap, one of the oldest and largest in the UK, I believe. Digwell, you have got me giggling, indeed. And Digwell, that is a great deal. £6. Yeah, £6. Posted in packaging, 3 sets of seed potatoes, a kilo of feed. That is a really good deal. Really good deal. I also say seed from parsnip and broad beans. Now, this brings me up quite nicely, actually, to saving seed. We mentioned it a bit earlier. A couple of people have mentioned about saving seed. Now, I've dabbled with trying to save seed in the past. It does work, you know. Nothing. We've done it for thousands and thousands of years, after all. What I find, so I've kept the things that I've definitely kept. So I kept my garlic going for year upon years, especially elephant garlic. Take the biggest garlic bulb or the elephant garlic bulb, and I will replant that. And that carries on year after year. I'm actually thinking I'm going to buy fresh stock in this year for garlic, but that I've done for the past many years. Same with shallots. I've kept the biggest ones of those, replanted those, and that's managed to keep our shallot intake. Broad beans, they're another one that I've managed to be able to save a lot of broad bean seeds, and peas as well. Another one very easy to do. But I've never really ventured into parsnips or carrots, so this is something I may have to look at in the future. What I think I should do with parsnips and carrots, grow in a tub and leave 1 or 2 just to go to seed inside the tubs and self-seed where they are. Idaho says, I wish we had a seed swap. Maybe now that more people are growing gardens, maybe the opportunity will be more likely. Start one up yourself. You know, people will come to these things. If you can start one up yourself, people will be interested and will join in. In fact, here in the UK, I know many villagers, they've started turning like old phone boxes into seed swapping areas. People just pop some seeds in there and take what they want out, which I think is a great idea as well. Anna Jones says, in my flower garden, I save a huge amount of seed, usually only beans, peas, and tomatoes in the veg plot. So there we go. Yeah, beans, peas, and tomatoes. I have saved tomato seeds actually, but didn't have much luck from it. So no, I didn't bother so much. Idaho, I'm saving peas, parsnip, carrots, parsley, peppers, and beans. Excellent, excellent. So a lot of seed saving going on. I've saved pea and climbing bean seeds. Excellent. Yeah, always about saving peas and beans. They seem the easiest ones to save. Just make sure your plants are not F1 if you want to save a seed. That is true. So an F1 is where you've got 2 varieties that have been bred to produce this F1 variety. And if you save a seed, you might get a plant more closely related to its parent plant. But that could be fun as well. So don't be put off. Just don't expect the same results. Ian Beddoes has joined. Evening all, not seen any pictures of Roxy's birthday cake. It was Roxy's 1-year-old birthday yesterday. And she got spoiled rotten, to say the least. She didn't get birthday cake in the end. She had lots of sausages and treats and everything else, and playing with my dad's dog Teddy as well. And she's been knackered since, to say the least. Idaho says, and maybe cucumbers he's been saving seeds from as well. I think, and agrees with Turbo about not saving F1. I think one day we're going to have to talk about seed saving, because this is something I need to do more of. Not so good at it at all. Now, Digwell says, I don't save a lot, just some fertile ones like beans. Yeah, same here. Pretty much the same here. And even then, I end up with so many seeds that I don't really worry too much. Now, where else do we get our plants from? Like I said, most of my veg plants I grow from seed. I might go to a show and I might buy some very specialized plants. But if I'm in a garden centre, I might be looking for a particular plant. But I'm always reluctant to pay full price, and I can't believe I'm saying that. But I just find, I just think sometimes they're a bit overpriced. So what I tend to do is garden centres and even Wilkinson's or any of the high street shops that sell plants, they often sell discounted plants, and I will go and raid that. I have got a blackcurrant bush just out there in a pot. Cost me 10p. It was nearly dead when I bought it, but now it is nice and big. That plant cost me 10p, and it is really nice and healthy. So I'm keeping that going and saving money at the same time. Those bargain areas, I'm always checking them out before I go anywhere. Check out the bargain areas in a garden centre. There may be some that are beyond it. Don't get me wrong. There are some that are far too dead, but sometimes you can pick up a really good bargain. And if you can nurse it back to health, you can end up with some really good plants. I've done that quite a bit. With quite a few of our plants that we are expanding our collection with. Toby Stream says, I do want to try some heritage varieties at some point. Don't we all? Hey, yeah, heritage varieties. I got sent some Welsh heritage beans. I didn't get around to sowing them. But heritage are always fun to grow, I think. They're the older varieties. And they've gone out of favour for a bit because of they may not be considered as ideal. They may not be so bug resistant. They may not be so productive. And the newer varieties are meant to be more bug resistant or more productive, etc., etc. But sometimes the older varieties do better than the newer ones, I think. And they sometimes taste better. A lot of the time they taste better, I would say, personally. Just realised I forgot to mention I've harvested my peaches this week. Nice. We've got a white peach. Absolutely delicious. Quite small, but delicious. Beatrice says, B&Q seem to reduce plants on a Monday, so often we'll have a look. There you go. This is what we're looking for. Always the bargains I'm searching out. I mostly grow heirloom and open pollinated with the cucumbers. I have some picklers blooming right now. The regular cucumbers are a few weeks later, so I might be able to save some from the pickled. Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely indeed. Pickled cucumbers are delicious. We had some burgers this evening with pickled cucumbers. Tasty, tasty, tasty. Andrew Norris, hey there, everyone. Good to be here and in England. Lovely to see you. Lovely to hear you over. Hope you are well. With patience, you can grow F1 successfully. Sow and grow in year one. Save a seed from the ones that grow. Repeat for 3 years, and you're almost assured of good plants. Yeah, this is what I was saying earlier when it was mentioned not to save seed from F1. That's kind of true, but at the same time, it's fun to try and experiment and see what you might end up with. Not just Green Fingers UK blog. I bought an apple tree from Tesco's in 2016 for just £1.25 in a sale, bargain. I planted it straight away, and last year I had the most amazing apples that taste well and store well. I haven't got a clue what the variety is. That is a risk. You don't know what the variety is. That is a risk sometimes with these bargain discounts. They've lost the label or whatever. But when it comes to apples, if you harvest an apple, you might be able to go to an apple day and they might be able to identify the apple for you. They're quite a few that go on. Check it out on Google for your local one. Just an idea there. If you save seed, then the next year plants will be better suited to your local conditions. Not sure if that's true though. there's an element of that being true, because like my garlic, it gets bigger and bigger each year because it's used to my conditions. It's used to what I have in our allotment. But each year, in terms of weather, can be different. This year we've had a light winter. Spring never really happened, and then summer came and it was hot, hot, hot. So you can't. There's always going to be differences each year. That's why wine, for example, you get good years for wine because the weather is so different. It's still growing in the same places. It's just the weather is so much better for wine. Nicholas says, Richard, maybe the council are now using their wood chip to make council compost and making money from it. Possibly, very much possible. But would have been nice. We've got a lot of allotments in our area, so they could be using it with us. Is all I would say from it. Great Veg UK is joined. Good evening to you. Hope you are well. He's usually in a bath when he joins in, so don't try and imagine that. So what have we got? So we got seeds from magazines, garden centres, shows, plants from garden centres, the bargain discounts, the shows, cuttings. I think we hit upon cuttings earlier. Now, on our allotment, this happens a bit more, that somebody might pop up and say, oh, I really like the look of your apple tree, for example. Can I take a cutting, please? And I'm normally quite happy for them to take a cutting as well. When it comes to trees, apple trees particularly, it tends to be the easiest way to get them. If you've ever tried growing an apple tree from seed, you know how long it takes for them to produce anything. It's a long, long wait. Cuttings do tend to make that a lot easier to or a lot quicker for them to produce something, I find. But not just apple trees, red currants, black currants, gooseberries, taking cuttings from those. And I try and do them quite regularly just to try and bulk up my stocks of these plants. In fact, when I finish this show tonight, I'm probably going to pot up some of my gooseberries that I've grown from cuttings, thinking about it. So for me, I like to do cuttings on the things that seeds just aren't going to do it. Like I say, I've grown rhubarb from seed this year, and that's actually doing quite well. But it's one of those things I wouldn't have thought to grow from seed before. I would have gone to a garden centre and bought a pot of rhubarb. Let's have a comment. So Digwell says a lot of wood chip goes to the biomass energy these days. The tree surgeon, etc., gets paid for it. That's possible. Don't know. A couple of years ago, they did deliver it to our allotment, so it was good. Grow Veg says Bath is all done. I grow everything from seed now, including all my flowers. So there's a lot of people here tonight are saying they grow a lot of their plants from seed, which is a great idea. Great idea. I'm a big fan of growing from seed. Yes, I love the bargains at garden centres. Haven't done much with cuttings, but I do have one elderberry cutting that is surviving. Didn't think about doing an elderberry cutting. That's a good idea. Again, when it comes to cuttings, I try and take quite a few to try and stand the best chance of them taking. I don't know about anybody else. So as we're talking about cuttings, so I'm going to stick with this for a minute. When I take a cutting, what I like to do, I take my cutting from my tree, and I like to, as soon as I can, get it into the ground. And what I'll do is I'll remove the lower leaves, I'll dip it into some organic rooting hormone, and then I'll put that into some compost. Keep it moist, not waterlogged, but moist, and pretty soon it will take. That's how I do it. That is how I do it. I know some people may not use rooting hormone. That's how I do it, and it's never let me down. Turbo Stream says, I was asked to save seed from my Hollyhock this week by other plot holders, so I will, of course, save her a load of seeds. Okay, this comes back to what I was saying about taking cuttings, friends and families, and other allotment neighbours. You know, often I'm around. In fact, when I first started on my allotment, first couple of years, there was one guy, unfortunately, I believe he's passed away now, but he was right down at the beginning. He was a type of, he was ex-army, so every other word was a swear word, real sort of bullshit, lovely bloke. But he would come along and he goes, I've just dug out some raspberry canes. Do you want them? At the time, I didn't want them. But that's the type of thing that happens on allotments. People will offer others plants. So, yeah. I grow cuttings by lots of different methods depending on the plant. In pots, water cuttings, just pushing them into the ground outside, or rock wool cubes for anything tricky. Didn't think about using rock wool cubes. That is a good idea. I'm going to try that in the future. Turbo Stream. I divided some rhubarb last year, so add division to your list. Yeah, I didn't think about division, but that is a good idea. Division. I'll write that down now. Yeah, so rhubarb is probably the best example. Anything that has that big sort of root mass. Rhubarb, every 5 years, they say you want to cut into 3 pieces. So cut one end off, or cut 2 ends off, and plant those 2. And the woody middle you want to get rid of. And those two end bits will regrow, and then you get 2 plants for 1. The tree surgeons that delivered to our plot for free now sell it for energy. Annoying, isn't it? It's really annoying. Really annoying, isn't it? But I think more people would use these cuttings on an allotment if they are there. Hargrave Gas says, I take cuttings, but seems to be more flowers than veg. Got some great taberries and currants from cuttings, though. They were easy. My fig plant is proving much more difficult. Fig is very difficult to take from cuttings, I find. Keep trying, and I think you will get there, but it is a tricky one. Perhaps that's where rock wool might come into it. My gooseberry cuttings were just trimmed below a joint, and I made a slot in the ground, and they took okay. Did it in October and left them all winter. I remember seeing Turbo Stream's photos on this of them in the ground. Good idea. I've never really thought of doing cuttings in the ground where they are going to grow. I've always done them in pots of compost, just so I can, control it better. And I moved them into indoors over winter to try and keep the warmth to promote that root growth. But as I said, Turbo Stream, it worked very nicely. So that was eye-opening for me, in my opinion. Just going to have a swig of this. It's getting a bit warm in here today, isn't it? I don't know how it is for everybody else. Grow veg. Have you tried air layering the fig tree? Now, this is another way of taking cuttings. Particularly if you think of blackberry bushes, when they out in the wild, when they grow, they tend to put out a stem which then gets in contact with the ground, and that produces, where it's in contact in the ground, produces roots, and that goes on to you cut it off from the mother plant and you've got yourself another plant. Now, I actually do something quite similar to this when I take cuttings on my own plants. What I'll do is I'll take a branch and I'll feed it through the bottom of a flower pot. You know, holes we get in the bottom of a flower pot? Feed it through there, fill that pot up with compost, and then have to try and support that pot in some way. And then I'll leave it for a year. After a year, cut it off from the mother plant and pot that plant up. It is established. It is taken. It is what's called layering. For me, it's actually much easier to do this than taking a cutting, and much more reliable. But it's a good idea to do it if you can. I forgot tomatoes. F1 seeds are so expensive. I plant side shoots as cuttings, more than double the number of plants I have. We've been discussing this a bit lately, haven't we, about using the side shoots from tomato plants to grow more plants. I was always under the belief that in the UK it's not so easy to do because we don't get long enough season. But people like Hargrave Gas have been coming out and telling me that actually we can do it. So yeah, what they're taking us, you know, you got to move those side shoots anyway because they don't do anything for the plant. just put them in the ground. Tomatoes root really easily. So they're well worth trying to do that with. Shall we have a quick look at some of the photos that have come in this week? Now, these are photos that have either been sent to me or they are in our Facebook group. So, no, we don't want that one. Go back to that. So first of all, Idaho Garden Girl. She's been sending us each week a photo of her garden, her vegetable plot from the same spot. And this is what it's looking like this week. I tell you what, it's not until you put them together and you actually start to see the subtle changes. It's why it's quite exciting to see what's going to happen towards the end of the year when all these come together and you see just how much it changes in the 6 months. Alison is glad to have been friends with a shepherd because she's collected a load of sheep's wool. Now, this sheep's wool is going to be placed around her plants to deter slugs and snails because they don't like wool, apparently. But there's also hundreds and hundreds of uses for wool that we are discovering in the garden as well. Digwell has been collecting or harvesting lots of his beans, so we've got a good collection there. Faraday, Dalmazinio, Vetches, Blue Hide, Blue Lake, and Belotti. Lots of beans to keep you going there. Look delicious, don't they? Absolutely delicious. Kate Spratt has been harvesting this lot from the allotment after being on holiday. Good lot of beans and lettuce. And this is inside her polytunnel. She was a bit worried after going away what she was going to come back to. But I think we all agree it looks in pretty good condition. I'm very happy with that. I would be very happy with that. Kate Harding has a nice trug full of this produce that she's harvested. I believe she's just bought the trug as well. There's some rhubarb peas, broad beans, onions and courgettes and so on. So all good. Just seen Digwell just say about that one. The Blue Lake is from the club. Yes, I thought they was. I knew they were one that I'd sent out. I think we've sent Blue Hound out in the past as well, but that might have been Blue Hilda, last year. But yeah, Blue Lake, I just saw that from the supporters club. Where are we? Jenny. Now, desperate times call for desperate measures, as she says. She's put this parasol up in her polytunnel to try and shade out some of her plants because they were getting so hot in this weather that we've had. Genius idea. Didn't think of doing anything like that, but it seems to have worked really well. Now, Jack Webb has posted this picture and is asking, has anyone heard of this? And it says to store your potatoes with an apple to keep them for longer. The ethylene gas emitted by the apple will help prevent them from sprouting and going bad. Wash the apple well if eating it later. Now, I've never heard of this, but Digwell did post a bit of a technical reply. It does work in some if you do it at the right stage. And Nicola, aka Nicola Cornish Heaven, she's been building some new compost bins on her farm out there. Out of pallets by the look of it. Such a good use of pallets. So thank you, and please do keep posting those pictures into our Facebook group or wherever you may want to post them. They always go down well, and they seem to be very, very popular. Hargrave guest tried air layering in some plastic spheres I bought for the purpose. Kept drying out, so maybe I should have just gone with plastic bags. Try just plant pots, just a simple plant pot. It's what I do. I can guarantee you've got, if you're a gardener, you've got plant pots lying around. It works just as well. And you're going to put it in a pot anyway, so you've just saved yourself a stage. Look at that plant. Look at doing a plant pot. That's what I would say. So where else do you get your plants from? I've got one final thing on my list where I tend to get my plants from. I kind of hit upon this actually when I was talking about one of my allotment neighbours. Gifts from people. I I think it's safe to say a lot of people I know I'm a king gardener, and sometimes they might just send me a plant or vouchers and stuff to buy a plant with, and I'm always happy for that. Always happy for that. So gifts, they're a good one, and some of the gifts that we get are always absolutely amazing. Sometimes I get thrown a one example, our Taberry bush that we have here. It was a gift from my wife's stepmom, my mother-in-law. Gets confusing, and she was moving away, so she gave it to us, and it is absolutely delicious, and it produces some really good Taberries. So yeah, always worth gifts as well. Digwell says, I've been saving my weekly plot photos. Do you want them in dribs and drabs or all in one go later in the year? Whatever's easier for you. If you want to send them at the end of the year, that's fine. If you send them in dribs and drabs, I can pop them together. Whatever's easiest for you. Digwell, you're pretty good with the stuff, so I'm sure you can hold on to it and send it in one go, because you know what you're doing with a lot of these things. Anna says, thanks for the great photos, everyone. Indeed. Me too, Digwell, but forgetfulness has delayed me sending them in. I might make a slideshow, set it to music, and send them in later that year. That's what we're going to be doing towards the end of the year anyway. Making them into a slideshow to see how people who've taken the photos plot progresses throughout the year. Nicholas says, B&Q clearance, grow it in Facebook Marketplace, sometimes free there. Yeah. I saw somebody in our Facebook Marketplace giving away pomegranate plants. So yeah, B&Q clearance we've mentioned as well, but Facebook Marketplace is another good place to get plants from. Great idea with the umbrella at Jenny. Indeed, I thought it was a great idea. Very ingenious, isn't it? Very ingenious. Turbo Stream says, me too, Digwell, but forgetfulness. I've read that one, haven't I? Ian Beddoes, did you know 90% of all blueberries grown in the UK are made into soft drinks? I didn't know that. Didn't know that at all. I do like blueberries. I saw somebody on our allotment planting blueberries into the ground, and whenever I see it, I never like to correct anybody when they're doing it, but I always feel like I should be saying, grow your blueberries in pots with ericaceous soil. They grow so much better. But I grow a lot of blueberries. Don't always produce anything. They're funny old plants. They're very particular plants, aren't they? Very particular plants. But when they do produce, they produce some amazing fruits. Sorry, just drinking on camera while I can, because it can get rather warm. It's starting to cool down now, so it must mean it's cooling down outside now, which would be nice because it means I can go out there and do a bit of watering once I'm done. Now, on this note, I just want to remind everybody, if you are enjoying this show and enjoying the chat and everything, hello Roxy, please do give us a thumbs up. Please do give us a like. Please do give us a follow. Please do give us a subscribe. And don't forget to click the notification so that you know when we go live. I say it every week, and I've got to say it every week. Otherwise, I get told off from the likes of Facebook and YouTube. Digwell says, a whole new meaning to pinching out. I used to act as a lookout at the fuchsia nursery while my dad pinched out a few tips of desirable plants. I've seen people taking cuttings inside Kew Garden before, the greenhouses at Kew Garden. They've taken cuttings because they particularly liked their plants. I do not have the guts to do that myself. But believe me, I know people will do that. Why not? I mean, actually, I'll tell you why not, because you don't do it from somewhere like that where they're trying to save these plants or what have you, and you don't take cuttings from somebody's garden without getting their permission. I think that's only polite. That being said, most gardeners, I think, are happy for people to take cuttings if you ask nicely, and in this case, a fuchsia nursery. Love it, love it. Ibanos plant a blueberry plant this year for the first time. How have they done? How have they done? And did you do them in ericaceous soil? Only because they like the more acidic conditions that ericaceous soil provides. Mostly Ribena, I guess. Talking about the blueberries being used in. Is Ribena? I thought Ribena was black currant. Not blueberries. What drinks are people making with blueberries? Blueberry and apple? I don't know. Anybody got any ideas what drinks are being made with blueberries that use up 90% of the UK's stocks of blueberries? Is that a question I have out there? I'm throwing out there. The phone line is open if you do want to call in 07307 135 174. Always lovely to hear some of your voices. And we'll continue this conversation. Where do you get your plants from? I think I've gone through everywhere that I get a lot of my plants. Dickworth says, oops, I thought of black currants too, thinking Ribena black currants. Yeah. I can't think what blueberries, what drinks blueberries. A blueberry lemonade, I guess. Pink lemonade. Is that a possibility? I'm not sure. I mean, I know we make blueberry jam and blueberry pie out of ours, blueberry muffins. I can't think of any drinks that we can make out of blueberries or that the blueberries would be used for. That's a question that I'm going to throw out there to everybody. If anybody has any ideas, please do let us know. He says as he's taking a swig of his orange and mango squash. We've been, I've got to say, I don't know if anybody else has had a really good year with our soft fruits. This year we have had an exceptionally good year with soft fruits. We've had a lot of a lot of cherries, red currants, black currants, blackberries, which are just doing phenomenally well. We've got more blackberries coming in at home. Blueberries. What else have we had? Red currants, gooseberries. We've had so many soft fruits. Our freezer is just jam-packed with these sort of things. And now we're starting to harvest even our French beans, our tomatoes. We've been harvesting tomatoes for a while, actually. But more and more of these things are coming in. It's times like this that you just suddenly realise why we put all this effort in when we're getting these delicious foods come in and just using them in whatever way we see possible. Courgettes, I mean, courgettes are going to be a massive glut again, as they always are, but they are worth it. I like courgettes. I always find ways of using them up in some form or another. Again, I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts on that, where they've been using courgettes up. I just realised I wiped away the discussion for next week, so I can't remember what I was gonna do. So yeah, I'll have to come up with an idea. But yeah, soft fruit's been really, really good this year. Has anybody else? What has anybody else, or particular crops that have been, in their eyes, really good this year for you? Turbo Stream is saying, done badly with soft fruits, but have been making the new fruit tree area, so it might be a while before I do well again. Fingers crossed for next year. Yeah, I wonder why you've done badly for soft fruits then. Were they producing? Did you not beat the birds to them? Or did they just not produce? Trying to think. We didn't. I don't think we had a late frost this year. Last year we had a very late frost, didn't we? And that really did decimate things. Did I say we've harvested our peaches this week, and they are delicious. They're white, they're quite small actually. White peaches and absolutely delicious. a good wash, and absolutely delicious. I'm going to have to make peach tea or something to try and make them last. I've had my best year yet, sort of soft fruit. It's blueberry muffins all around in our house at the moment. Oh, lovely! Yeah, that's what I mean. I feel blueberries are so good in muffins. I feel it's been a good year for them. I feel it's been a good year for soft fruits. My outdoor tomatoes have been very productive this year, said Digwell. Right, are you still there? Are you all still there? Sorry. I'll explain what happened. My phone that I used to connect to the internet just flashed up that it was too hot, so I had to quickly cool it down. Hopefully, it'll be okay now. Apologies for that. It shows how warm it is. Grey veg. My onions have done really well this year. No white rot and massive. Tomatoes, both in the polytunnel and outdoors, have done amazingly well. My onions done really well this year as well, and I put it down to squelch. Yeah. Tomatoes seem to be very popular. The old gooseberries I cut back are overrun with weeds, and the red currant bush needed giving out. So basically, start from scratch with it. I know that feeling. It's what I'm thinking with my gooseberry bushes is that I need to rip them out and start again. Anyone else frozen? No, frozen here. 50p in the meter. Did we lose him? Nice and warm here. Looks like your connection has gone off. You're frozen. Must be overheated. Betrox is eating the Wi-Fi router. All good. Oh, all okay now. Sorry. Yeah, it was just my phone just flashed up there. It was too hot. I did have it on top of the screen. It might have been the real reason. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that doesn't feel so hot now. It is warm in here. It is warm down here, but I thought it was starting to cool down. I had to rethink that. Apologies anyway. All apologies for that. So yeah, what else has been a really good year for you guys? I say soft fruits so far have been really good. Our onions have been good. I'm very happy with our onions. Garlic has been pretty good. I know a lot of people have struggled with garlic. Our beans are just starting to come, so it's a bit early to tell, but I'm happy with everything that we've done this year. Good evening, Richard from Ernie. We generally get our veg plants from neighbours as well as plants sold outside houses or farm shops. Great bargains. That's a good point. Good place actually. The ones that are outside farm shops and etc., or outside people's houses, they're always a good place to get some interesting plants. Rebecca says my chilies are loving life. Excellent. I've grown this year. I've grown our chilies inside in hanging baskets, and they seem to be doing really well in hanging baskets to the point I think I'll be growing them in hanging baskets pretty much every year from now on. Chilies and peppers in hanging baskets seem to be doing really well. In fact, I think what I'll be doing is I tend to sow my chilies and peppers quite early, and I think I will try and get me into the hanging baskets in the greenhouse a lot earlier, just because it works so well. Gardening for Beginners has joined. Hi all, good evening to you. Hope you are well. Oh, I like that idea. Are they in your greenhouse? Some are in my greenhouse, some are outside or hanging up on the shed and places like that. It's I did it as an experiment this year, and so far the results, they do need a bit more watering. You've got to make sure they don't dry out. But chilies, obviously, they like a lot of water, and then they like to dry out before they get watered again. In hanging baskets, this happens a lot easier because the water just drains out. That's my theory anyway, but it's really worked. Hello, caller. What's your name and where you're calling from?
It is Lee Connolly.
Hello,
the skinny jean gardener from Courgettes. Hello, my friend.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Look at you. You're looking well.
Oh, yeah. Well, much better now. Thank you.
Fantastic, dude.
Fantastic. Now, that's convenient you've rang because you've just reminded me what we're doing next Saturday. It's next Sunday.
I know. I'm very excited.
Yeah. Do you want to announce it?
I am. Are you talking about you doing the show from here, or are you talking about me doing my show in the theatre?
Both.
Very excitedly, I'm doing a theatre show next week. Even more excitedly, Richard Suggett is doing this show from my place.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to be in Lee's garden doing this live show next Sunday at 6. And what we're going to be, the subject, I've discussed this with Lee, so this is news to him, but the subject I'm looking at is that how do you encourage children to help you in the garden? Now, not everybody has children, I know that, but if you have nieces and nephews like myself, or grandchildren or anything like that, how do you encourage them to help you in the garden?
Can't wait, man.
Yeah, good.
Exciting times.
Indeed.
Today's subject.
Yes, where do you get your plants from?
I actually, do you know what? Like, I love growing my plants from seed, but my biggest cheat is I like going to the garden centre as well. So I'm at my local garden centre at Perrywood. I'll pop in and have a look for my vegetable plants. Always buy a few just to help me top up. But one of my best cheats is go into, like P&Q or something like that, home base. Not always the best place to get your vegetable plants from, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when they're like on sale and they're almost on their way out, you think, I could probably help that plant. That is peak excitement for me. So sometimes I do that as well. When I'm getting me screws and stuff, I'll save some plants.
Yeah. Funny enough, a lot of people that have been talking about B&Q and getting the discount corner plants.
I don't know what happens to them.
Well, they don't. Not so much with B&Q, but I know there's certain other shops that will remain nameless. I've been in there and they do not look after their plants.
Oh, no.
And so they have to get rid of them cheap, because why would you pay, I don't know, £6 for a apple tree, for example, that's not looking like it's going to survive?
Yeah, true story.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can find some bargains in there. I think I bought some tomato plants and chili plants before, and I've got them about 6 or 7 plants for £1 or something silly like that. So what you're losing? You know what I mean? Like if you save for just a couple of them, you're winning. So you know, sometimes I fall behind on sowing seeds, so they're always an easy way to top up your planters.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Talking of planters, how is your little small gardens going?
Well, the patio garden, the balcony garden, the front garden.
Yeah, them ones, all of them.
Oh, you know, so I'll explain to everyone watching at home. So this year I've been running an experiment where I've built extra garden areas to try and replicate other situations that other people find themselves in. It's been quite eye-opening. So I thought it'd be quite easy to look after, say, a patio garden or a balcony garden. But what I've discovered is it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work trying to, a small space, trying to fit a lot in. It's hard.
Well, yeah. I don't know, you've seen my garden. I'll put a video, I need to do another video soon, but of my little garden, and I find it quite exciting, like to be able to create something and try and find a place for things. You know, like my pumpkins are growing pretty well, and they're just growing in like boxes at the moment. So I think it's a nice little challenge.
Yeah.
But it is a challenge. You're right.
It is a challenge. It definitely is a challenge. I mean, I was just talking about growing chilies in hanging baskets and peppers, and that's worked really, really well. And that's something I'm definitely recommending. Rebecca has said she likes that idea. Are they in my greenhouse? They're not just in my greenhouse. They're everywhere I could fit them, sort of thing.
Yeah, they're one of them things, aren't they? Because like for me, tomatoes and chilies plants, I can never have enough. So when I start running out of places, hanging basket's not a bad idea.
Yeah. This is what I discovered with these extra gardens, is that the only way to go was up. But gardening for beginners says he did peas in hanging baskets this year, and that was a bit of a flop. So
peas in a hanging basket, though.
Peas in a hanging basket. To me, I think Ian Beddoes was doing them in a hanging basket as well, and they seem to work.
Exactly. If Beddoes was doing it, then you've got to question yourself.
But gardening for beginners, and my thinking here is that I know peas, they tend to produce when they climb. So by growing in a basket, they're not climbing, they're drooping. So
unless you do them right, sorry to interrupt you, I'm
sorry.
Interrupt the mood. Unless you do them where you have a hanging basket, but then you put a really long chain on it, so it's sort of like hovering a little bit lower, and then it gives them a bit more space to climb up.
That could be the way forward to do that. That's an idea.
Yeah, I mean, that's not. I don't know. It depends what sort of space you got, but if you can do it that way, you can grow stuff underneath it, almost like shelving, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can grow stuff underneath. Then you've got the hanging basket where your peas are growing up, so it's sort of doubling your space.
Yeah. Excellent.
There you go.
That's
what I'm here for.
Yeah.
I just thought, I enjoy it. Usually I have to watch your show on a Monday, but tonight I managed to actually sit and watch some of it. So I thought, do you know what? I'll call in.
Oh, it's nice to hear you anyway.
Yeah, you tell we've got to touch with each other last week, didn't we? It was a bit crazy, but let's see you next week. Yeah,
we'll do. I look forward to that.
Have a great show, matey.
You too, mate. All the best.
Bye, dude.
Bye. So there we go. That was, he's gone. That was Lee Connolly there. As I said, next Sunday, I'm glad he rang because he completely reminded me. We're going live from his garden because I've got to help him out on a stage show. And we're going to be chatting about how you get kids gardening, how you get kids helping you in the garden. Digwell says, I gave a talk to a group of squirrel scouts, 4 to 6 year olds on my allotment. They were so knowledgeable, they put some YouTubers to shame. That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me at all. I think some kids know more than what we give them credit for. Yeah. I use the yellow stickers around Tesco's. Do you mean you put the yellow stickers on yourself just to get the bargain plants? But yeah, I'm with you again. Tesco's are one that I find a lot of plants they sell, they're not really looked after very well, I don't think, in Tesco's, for example, and when they sell them off cheap. Same as upside down tomatoes, working against nature. That might be what's going on with peas in hanging baskets. That's my theory, and I was waiting to find out how well it worked for beddoes. But my theory was peas need to climb to stimulate the flowers, and the tendrils have to grab onto something to force them to climb. That's what encourages them to flower. So is upside down tomatoes. I mean, I found the upside down tomatoes try to grow up anyway, so it didn't really work. Rebecca says, I like using hanging baskets for my tumbling toms, but never tried anything else. Got me thinking now what else we could do. You know, it's surprising what can go into hanging baskets. So nasturtiums, I've done nasturtiums in hanging baskets, and they've worked quite well. As I said, chilies and peppers have worked very well. Peas, as Ray Garden for Beginners has said, he was a flop for him, but I believe that Ian Beddoes had a bit of luck in the past with it. I think there's a case of experimenting and seeing what really works. I mean, the reason I think I was saying before the phone call came in, chilies do like to dry out between watering, and being in a hanging basket tends to encourage that. And as I said, because I do start them off early, I can get them earlier into a hanging basket in the greenhouse and then move them outside come May. Definitely going to be doing that next year. I've been planting my spare tomato plants in my flower beds just so I don't waste them. Have I out of focus? Oh, sorry. Sorry, let me come back to that one. Gone out of focus, Richard, unless the heat has got to my eyes. Have I gone out of focus? I know if it looks fine here, that's all I can say. I've been planting my spare tomato plants in flower beds just so I don't waste them. That's funny enough saying I always say, isn't it? I always grow or sow far too many seeds, and I can never bring myself to get rid of any. I always think they're far too good, so I have to squeeze them in places that I can fit them in, just so they are not wasted. I've been pretty good this year actually in restricting myself, but yeah, definitely not definitely not wasting so many plants this year. And moving forward, I'm going to hopefully do the same by making sure that we don't sow as many. I can see you if I squint to get you in focus. Really? It looks fine here. Looks absolutely fine here. So I don't know what's going on there. I can see the image here. So God knows what's going on. Let me try that. Has that made it any better? Just switching the camera over quickly. Check that one as well. That's okay. God knows what's going on there. Maybe a herb hanging basket may be good. I've grown dill in a hanging basket once, and that actually also did really, really well. Didn't quite grow as big as dill normally gets, but it grew to a manageable size. So yeah, herbs definitely in hanging basket. I would imagine rosemary will do quite well in a hanging basket as well. It gets you thinking, doesn't it? It gets you thinking. Once you start thinking outside the box, what else can be done? I've grown strawberries and creeping thyme in hanging baskets. Both worked really well. Strawberries, yeah, of course. Strawberries, definitely do strawberries. And Dad says still not in focus. So I'm just trying to. I know the background should be out of focus because I said it. Let me see if I'm out of focus there. Is that any better? Is that any better for you guys? Let me check everything else. Yeah, it's on 720. It's the bandwidth streaming issue, not a focus issue. Okay. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on because it's here. It's all streaming great. Although the phone signal does look. Should the phone signal should be okay now. So let me know if it's any better now. Keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on it. No, I think it's an internet issue. Looks low resolution. No worse. Okay now. It's not focus. It's quality stats for NAS. Says you are in 320 by 240. Well, I'm streaming in 720, so God knows what happened. Yes, it got better. It's because you moved the mobile. It probably is the signal or something. I don't know. And I didn't actually move the mobile. I just adjusted the focus ring. I'm afraid it's true. You are not in focus. Looks better. God knows. I can only guess it might have been a slightly unstable connection for a moment there. One day we'll get a decent internet connection. Looks worse if I take my glasses off to type messages. Worse. Okay. Looks okay now. I don't look at you anyway. that's fun. And Idaho. Yeah, a few jokes going on in there. Let me just try adjusting that focus ring quickly and see. No, that's put me out of focus. I want to blur that background. Hopefully that's a bit better. If I blur the background, it just reduces the bandwidth a bit better. So it should in theory make it better. It could just be internet issues, so don't worry too much. Just started raining. Lucky you. We have not had rain. We had a bit of rain the other night, but we've not really had enough rain here for it to be worthwhile. We do need a really good shower, which I'm hoping is going to come. Rebecca says, I wish it would rain here. Still so dry. Yeah, it is so dry here. It's like a tinderbox. I mean, we've had a lot of fires go off in our area from where the grass has been so dry, and people have done things like having a barbecue or things like that and that's set the fires off. So good God knows we need rain. We need rain is what I'm saying. Been raining here for the last hour. Lucky you is all I say. We just wish we had bit more rain to go. So we got about 5 minutes to go. I think we have had quite an interesting conversation tonight. I've got to say again, we started off with the whole where do you get your plants from, and a lot of people is the impression I get will buy seeds or grow a lot of theirs from seeds, followed by looking in the bargain corners at garden centres and places like that, which I completely agree with. After what else did we talk about? We've been talking about these hanging baskets. It's hanging baskets, I think, are becoming, or for me certainly, where I've experimented with these different gardens, hanging baskets have come into their own, and they're definitely something that I've found a lot of interesting results with so far. The chilies are still looking good, but we'll see how we get on later on this year. It's tough love in my garden. I can't keep throwing water around. My plants are having to be strong, says Rebecca. Now that's an interesting point, because there's two schools of thought that people share. And I go with the school of thought that when I'm establishing my plants, when I first plant them, I probably do water them or try to water them on a daily basis, which is why I didn't plant any of my plants when they were in hot weather. But then once they are established, I give them a really, really good drenching once a week. And that way, in theory, the plants should then go down to try and find a lot of the the roots, or get the roots down to find the water on their own, which I think is a better way. Bigger plant has stronger, better roots. It's going to do better. But then there's other people that will water every day to make sure the soil never dries out. Which one are you? Which one are you? Are you a weekly waterer or a daily waterer? I'm also, I've seen, I'm sure some of you will remember how Rebecca's garden looks. Lots of plants, all shading each other out, so that ground doesn't dry out as quick as well. And I think that is also a good thing to think about as well, how you can make it shade the ground rather than fill it. Make the plants do the work, as Digwell says. Yes, make the plants do the work. Make the plants put the roots down to find the water. And that's why I once a week drenching. I mean, it does need a really good drenching, but once a week really does, I think, encourage them to pop the roots down. Especially with carrots, because that encourages those long carrots to get down into the ground. I don't know what everyone's thoughts are on that. There's probably a lot of people who might say something completely different. That lasted me the whole show. That's amazing. That lasted me the whole show. Just done that just right, because we are coming to the end of this week's live chat. As I said, it's been a good chat. Very interesting to find out where everyone gets their plants from, and as always, how we move forward with this conversation. Like I say, next Sunday, coming live from Lee's garden, and we're going to be discussing how you encourage kids into the garden, how you get them into to help you in the garden. Gardening for beginners is just going to sow some pumpkins in hanging baskets. They'll probably do quite well in hanging baskets, actually. I wonder how melons would do in hanging baskets. Got me thinking now. Melons in hanging baskets. Yeah, so I would like to know, and I know not everybody has kids, but I'm sure you have nieces or nephews or other people's kids that you might try and encourage into the garden. What do you find works with that? And the reason I'm doing this, as I said, I'm coming from Lee's area. Lee is known for his getting kids into the garden, Skinny Jean Gardener, etc., etc. If you haven't heard of Skinny Jean Gardener, go check him out. Does TV and things with CBBC and stuff. Turbo Stream says that went quick. Thanks, Richard, and everyone in the chatterbox. See you next week. It did go quick, and it's been great as always chatting to you. Again, as I said last week, it's you guys that make this conversation possible. Please do keep up the chat. Please do keep posting your photos. If you've got any videos to send in, that would be great as well. Until the next time, Rebecca says, looking forward to next week. I'm starting a school garden in September, so it should be a good one. There we go. Rebecca, this is probably going to help you out as well. Yeah, so we'll be back again next Sunday at 6 on the podcast this week. Winter veg we're discussing after a question that came in from Gary, a listener. That'll be out tomorrow night as always. Right, I'm going to wrap this up. You take care. Back again next Sunday. So until then, I'll just set myself up. Let me keep chatting. Yeah, so until then, you take care and keep that gardening going. Hopefully it's going to be much cooler for everyone. Have a great gardening week. Let us know what you've been up to next time. Take care, guys. See you again next week.